What's your favorite scary movie?
Do you ever fantasize about
damn enchiladas?
That's much too vulgar display of power, Karen.
Let me ask you one question. Are you having fun?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Because I promise you, you and I are going to have some fun.
Oh, no.
It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Shut up, you bitch hog.
Game over.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of the Dreadcast.
He's got the tiny mic. Have we got a new theme tune?
Aidan Half Troll, come on down. Yes, it's your turn to play. The Dreadcast is right. Now,
The Dreadcast is always right.
the film in question we're talking about today is Event Horizon. How did it do at the box office? What's your estimate? The budget was... Haven't got my notes up on the screen. This is not good for a game show host. The budget was 60 million. Closest answer wins the car.
Oh, so it was made for... Go on. It was made for 60 million.
Don't interrupt the game show host, Aidan. What was the box office number? Budget at 60 million. You could be going home with the car, as our lovely model over yonder is displaying.
I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to take a wild punt.
60 million.
Say 40 million.
He's gone for 40 million. What does Sandra over here say? She's gone 120 million. And Dave from Rugby over here has gone 500,000. Ding, 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 ding. Aidan Half Troll is correct because the box office result was 42 million.
Oh, nice.
You get the car.
Yeah,
You get to go, ding, 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 ding. You get to go home with a car. The Hyundai. It wouldn't be a good car. You get a shitty little one. There we go. And that's how we introduce our new podcast.
I don't think it's going to stick.
No, it's not. But I thought about it this morning and I thought I'll give it a go with my new microphone. Do you like the new microphone?
The new microphone. You know, funnily enough, I was watching a couple of TikToks this morning. And a good like 80% of them featured man with tiny microphone.
Do you see what I mean now?
It's a thing, yeah, definitely a thing.
This is called, well, this is not called a lapel mic. This is a black hex head, not Allen key head bolt with a piece of masking tape that says microphone on it.
Yeah.
But a lapel mic, the clue is in the name, folks.
Yes.
It goes on your lapel. You don't need to hold it. It will pick up your sound perfectly clear. So
but they just like to feel like a giant. That's what it is. I just want to feel like I'm a giant.
Yeah, it's baffling. Or even if it's not a lapel mic, it's if in-ear earphones with the mic on the cord, which is here beneath your chin, but they'll hold that up.
Hold it.
It's so dumb, so dumb. And as you mentioned the TikTok, like you must have seen the one for this fair channel.
I have indeed.
About the most recent episode, 2 films under featuring Mosquito versus Strays. Go check it out here on the YouTubes, and you can also find it on all major audio streaming platforms. I did a little bit on the TikTok video for that, because all the horror TikTok creators, much love to you all, it's always your face first. You're meant to be talking about the film. Why are you here?
Well, there was that. What was that one that you sent me the other day where it was just a promo for Sneak?
For Sneak?
Yeah, the gamer drink, sugar-free
gamer
energy
fuel
drink. Yeah, it's called Sneak, isn't it? And it was a horror channel.
I think so, yeah.
And they had all the collectibles and all the stuff in the background, but it was basically they were just talking about the gamer energy drink. I was like, well, what's this?
Our episode last week had a more exciting intro than that TikTok I showed you. It was a couple, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And like, hi.
It was very wooden.
Horror. This. Buy this. Horror.
Do you like horror?
Do you?
Energy drinks?
Well, we have horror and energy drinks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be exactly the same when we inevitably get snapped up by sponsors. But
I will sell the hell. I will sell the hell out of
yeah,
this
I would
podcast.
chill absolutely.
Oh god, yeah. Like, I
Please
need
sponsor
the money.
us.
Please give us money. Do you need ExpressVPN? We'll shill out for ExpressVPN.
Squarespace. You can make websites with that.
BetterHelp to fix your spicy brain. There we go.
Yep.
What else we got?
What's the other one? What's the food?
Oh, HelloFresh.
HelloFresh. Yeah.
Man,
yep.
I make all my meals with HelloFresh.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably the most disingenuous ones that I would never ever believe any podcast host ever using.
Yeah.
Because they are always like, yeah, I got it in the mail and I love this recipe. I use it all the time. I spend £50 a day on it.
Yeah, I mean, knowing, especially with like my previous look of Amazon deliveries and things like that, like being abandoned or things not even turning up at all. I mean, imagine if they had like every delivering HelloFresh.
Oh, yeah.
it basically just goes straight into the bin.
It might as well just be like, here's your HelloFresh box.
Just thrown. Yeah, left in the bin, thrown through a window. Like, yeah. Is it really that fresh when it arrives?
I
I'm
feel
skeptical
like
about those things.
it is more of a. I want to say it's more of an American thing because from any let's say online media entertainment conglomerate creator I've ever watched over the years, Americans don't seem to cook that much as we do here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I rarely get a takeaway, and that's not because of health reasons or anything like that. It's kind of down to money, but it's also I've got food in the house. I want to cook a nice meal.
Yeah.
I never get the impression that Americans or these creators, maybe because they're so busy, they're always going out to eat or they're always getting takeaway.
Yeah.
And I guess HelloFresh adds to that, so they don't have to go out to the supermarket and buy food. They just get it delivered.
I guess so. It always feeds into like that's always the way it's portrayed in like media as well. Like The Big Bang Theory strikes me as an obvious example. Yeah. Has anybody ever cooked a meal in that? They just every night is takeaway night, and
they just pick at it. They never eat it. Yeah, I imagine the money they would spend.
That's what I mean. I always think like, how much are they're like research students at the university? Like, how much are they making? They're not making a lot of money. Like, they've got this huge apartment. And I know how much all those comics and collectibles can be as well. It's like, how are they affording to eat takeout every single night? How are they wearing shoes? Like, they should have no money at all.
Yeah, I mean, how much would a two-person Chinese or Indian, if you went to town, 30 quid?
At least
35? Yeah.
At least 30 quid. At least.
Two people.
Yeah.
They're looking at probably. Welcome to our Big Bang Theory podcast. We'll be starting with the pilot episode today, folks. We've got 12 seasons to go through.
Oh my God, just kill me now.
Yeah, they're looking at least £150 a night on takeaway.
Yeah.
It's insane. Well, what a segue into today's film, Big Bang Theory. Do you know what?
There is a link. There will be a
link.
There
actually is quite a link there.
Lawrence Fishburne being in it. There's probably because today's film, Event Horizon, if you haven't already picked that up, is it's quite a stellar cast. It's
incredible cast.
It's an incredible cast. So I'm wondering, like, and people that have been in previously nerdy properties. Obviously, you've got Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, and The Matrix. So feasibly, those IPs have cameoed in Big Bang Theory episodes.
Harry Potter?
Yeah, we've got old Jason Isaacs, Lucius Malfoy.
Of course, it's taking away the long hair. Yes, of course. Yes.
I feel like
Yeah.
Sean Pertwee's also done something that would be.
Sean Pertwee, I feel like I've seen him in so many films, but I also feel like I haven't. I know he was in Equilibrium.
Equilibrium, Dog Soldiers.
Yep.
I mean, I love Sean Pertwee. He's great.
He's a great actor. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor, but very much that sort of character actor. Lots of tends to play the same sort of rough and ready character.
Yes, welcome back to the Dreadcast. One and all, I am Tom. This is Aidan.
Hello.
We are on. Is this episode 91?
Oh, I've massively lost count. I have no idea.
Well, I've messed up the count because what I talked to you about the other day when I started to include our little sub-series as the episode. So, episode 100 will happen this year. I don't know when. We'll get to it. We'll take all your Q&As. Because there's so many questions coming in. But today's episode is a special one. Today's episode is going to be...
It's 91.
Hopefully...
It's episode 91.
It is episode. Thank you for the clarification there on our statistical analyst over there in his booth. Today's episode is a special one because... And I think it will be one of many to come in the future, where it's a film that has been featured on the Dreadcast before.
Yeah.
Previous host, right? But it's also a film it would be good to get your opinion on and your thoughts. So why not? We're going to go through some of the old episodes, some of the old films that we've done in some of the old episodes.
Yeah.
And
revisit.
what I'm hoping to call our re-release.
Nice.
This is a re-release episode. Yes.
Yeah, that's clever.
I fought for a good 7 minutes on that. a lot longer than I did creating this microphone at work. So this is the Event Horizon re-release episode, and honestly, I think like a lot of recent episodes, this is not going to be shot for shot going through. I personally, I will not be going through shot for shot with this.
No, we don't need to do that. I mean, the old episode is there and is very good. You can always just give that a listen. But we're just gonna, just a general revisit and chat about it. And it's getting a fresh. Like I'm saying this like I'm going to be providing some insight that's not been heard before, but a fresh perspective.
Yes.
On an old favourite.
Now you've said that. That leads into my first question, as per usual. Not so much. Did you enjoy this film, but do you like this film? Because this film is an anomaly. It is a very niche film. Like there's nothing else like it, really.
No, it's. I mean, well. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. Generally, I do like it. I do think it's a good film. I've got to say, because I watched this last night, and I don't know how many times I've seen it before. Half a dozen, maybe. This was probably like watch 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
And I went into it thinking, yes, Event Horizon, because this was obviously my pick as well. I was like, yes, Event Horizon, love that movie, gonna watch it. And I felt at the end of it last night like, have I really seen this before? Because it didn't quite hit the same way as it had done in previous watches.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why. I can't quite put my finger on it. But I think there was maybe a bit of a Mandela effect thing going on where I was remembering stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't in the film. Or, I don't know. It's an odd one. Ultimately, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think it's a good, fun film. It's a lot sillier than I remember it being, and there's a few bits and pieces.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the idea of it and what you remember about it is ultimately quite different to what actually happens. Because I always think of it as being this sort of... Because I remember people being really scared of it as well when it came out. I remember people talking about this, like, oh my God, Event Horizon, it's horrible, it's really scary. And then you watch it, and you think, well, it's just all a bit silly, isn't it, really?
Exactly. That's exactly hitting the nail on the head. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got this memory of it being like a really sort of tense, horrible, like both psychological and in your face, gory thing, and it's
those moments are there.
They are there, but I don't think they have quite the impact in the viewing of it as they do when I think about it sort of after the fact. Well, not after the fact, but when I think about it, like, you know, months down the line, I'll think, oh yeah, Event Horizon, yeah, that's really creepy and really intense, but it's not really.
No.
It's like the Doom movie or meets Hellraiser.
Hey, there's one, you know, probably know what I'm talking about. The one particular part of that Doom movie I will have no slander on. Carl Urban in first-person view. The
first-person view.
Incredible scene. Incredible. The rest of it can be, may as well be Ghosts of Mars.
Oh, I love Ghosts of Mars.
Oh, get away. No, get away. Oh, how dare you.
Ice Cube in it. Come on. I'll watch anything Ice Cube.
That is one of John Carpenter's worst films. That is horrendous. Marilyn Manson.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I like it.
Okay.
There's two different things there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun, but it's not. It's nowhere near as like sort of creepy or horrible as I kind of think about it when you actually watch it. It's like, oh, it's just all a bit silly, really. But in a good way. It is a fun movie.
There's a fun romp. I think you're completely right with using the Mandela effect. Because I had that, and I think I first watched this at university, so we're talking 14 years ago. And the friend who made me watch it, got us to watch it, gave that bigging up of, we've got to watch this. Like, I just got this on DVD. I haven't seen it for so long. I've been wanting to watch it again for God knows how long. We've got to watch this. I know you love horror. Let's sit down. I was like, yeah, okay. I've heard of Event Horizon. Let's watch it. You're going to be so freaked out by this film. This film is nuts. And I remember watching it and thinking, okay, when are we getting there? When are we getting to the fireworks factory? When is it happening? And yeah, it does happen, like you said, here and there. But it's the things that hinder it in that aspect are, to me, that the era it was made in the 90s. Now knowing who Paul W.S. Anderson is as a director, you can see that in his future films. And the writing and characters of this film, because some of the writing and characters, it comes across goofy and comical at times, and very of the times of the 90s.
Definitely.
And I don't know if you got this noted down, but Cooper.
I was just about to say Cooper, 100%.
Here I come, motherfucker.
He's a very stereotypical, over the top, like, what's the word? Like, big, bombastic, like, yeah.
He's written like,
oh my God, yeah, screaming and shouting. And
as a white male, I obviously don't know, but he's written how satirically a black person was written in the film Not Another Teen Movie, which I like.
Yeah.
Where I just say damn, shit, and whack. And he's kind of written like that, and it's
he does fit,
big detriment to his character. Like yeah, it's really, it's a big hindrance on his character.
And his whole sort of exit and subsequent return from the film as well is all very much like comic relief, really.
Exactly.
Like, because I couldn't remember the fact that he actually does come back. So basically, you know, when it's sort of beginning of the third act, isn't it? The what's it called there? Ship. The Clark.
Lewis and Clark?
Lewis and Clark, that's it. The Lewis and Clark explodes, and he sort of ends up being shot out into space on a piece of the wreckage. And you think, and I thought, oh, well, that's the end of him then. But yeah, he does sort of manage to engineer coming back and saving the day. And it's so campy and cheesy and like comical. It's very much and that's it was that moment where I was sort of thinking, this isn't like the tense, serious, like psychological thriller horror that I remember it being. This is actually quite a campy, sci-fi, fun popcorn movie, really, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I think Cooper's character plays a big part in sort of toning it down.
Because there's a point when he is shot into space. He's narrating to himself what's happening. So I gotta get my air. I gotta get the pressure on this. I gotta get back to the ship. And it is very it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel. I mean, I wouldn't know what an astronaut would be saying, but you compare it to something like Gravity.
Yeah,
that feels way more serious because it is a serious situation, and they're orbiting Earth, right? In Gravity, no, in Gravity.
Oh, in Gravity.
This we're by Neptune.
Yeah.
I feel like the panic would set in a little bit more,
a little bit quicker, and it feels if it was a comedy movie, you'd feel like they'd cut back to him as like a mid-credits scene, and he'd still be like sort of spinning through space, going, "Oh, what are we? Yeah, oh no,"
or singing a song or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah. It is his whole character is like comic relief, but in the sort of, I mean, I'd say worst stereotypical way. Really, it's pretty poor. I think
as well. If his character, let's say, was a completely different race as well and written that way as well, it would still come off cheesy as well.
Oh yeah. Not that in the future space crews don't have a joker and don't have somebody that's like up for a laugh and not taking things too seriously, but he does feel sort of very out of place with, especially as things sort of start getting more and more dangerous and weird and things. He's still very much like, oh shit, whack, nonsense. So it's very silly.
I'm glad you caught that as well, because I think that is, like I said, one of the main issues that really takes away you trying to build your own suspense and tension with this film. That quite rough writing around a few parts of the film. All the characters, for the most part, are pretty good. I mean, obviously, the way they're portrayed by the actors in question, Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, in the top two. But that's one of the main aspects, I think. But
the characters are very good.
Yeah, they are.
I do think they all fit a little bit of a sort of stereotype to some degree. There's a bit of like Jason Isaac's character is DJ's the ship's doctor, and he's sort of very analytical, and then we've got Sean Pertwee is a little bit more, he's the pilot and a little bit more wisecracky, a little bit more not quite as full blown goofy as Cooper, but sort of less serious a little bit, but sort of tough with it. I think they all kind of fit. We do have a link to one of our previous films in this.
Do go on.
The Peters, character of Peters. She's the lady whose son is in a wheelchair. She keeps having flashbacks to her son being around. And she ends up falling off the gantry into the drive room and die. That's how she makes her die. Played by Kathleen Quinlan, who is the mother in Strays from our Two Films Under episode. She was. She's in.
Are you kidding?
As well. No. So
when on earth has that accidentally happened with us, where one of the most random films we could have watched called Strays suddenly has a link to the next film, which you picked because you wanted to just revisit it for this re-release.
Yeah.
That is wild.
and as I mentioned just before we started recording, there is an actor in this that links to my next Two Films Under pick as well. So it must have been a subconscious thing, like just pick Event Horizon because there's a nice little sandwich filler between my previous Two Films Under pick and my next Two Films Under pick. But it is complete fluke. I've not actually planned this, but that's how it's played out. I've got to say I'm a little bit pleased with myself.
Just for that, sir, you get to go into the showcase showdown at the end of the film where you can win a holiday and a hot tub.
The only connect of horror movie reviews.
Yeah. Event Horizon, for anyone who has joined the Dreadcast, you might not have checked our last episode out. Mm-hmm. It's quite a straightforward plot.
Yeah. I think it's a very good plot. I think it's an excellent premise for a movie. We get a little bit of blurb, like sort of just after the opening credits about what and where the Event Horizon is. So we get a little history of sort of Earth's space program. And in 2040, we're told that the Event Horizon was
16 years, man.
Mm-hmm. The Event Horizon was designed as a means of faster than light travel, but instead of sort of speeding up and traveling faster than light, it effectively warps space to bring 2 points together. It's very well explained in the movie, actually, a lot better than I'm going to explain it now. But essentially, it can open a warp gate and travel to wherever you want in an instant. It sets out on its maiden voyage and promptly activates the drive and promptly disappears. 7 years later, it's suddenly returned, and our cast, our characters, are rescue team, investigation crew, basically sent going to get on the Event Horizon, get on the ship, find out what happened, find out where it's been, and yeah, it turns out it wasn't a jolly first outing for the original crew, and they suddenly find themselves in a fight for their survival as all sorts of like paranormal and haunted possession malarkey nonsense goes on.
Kind of, I think it's definitely not just me. I think a lot of people refer to this as your Hellraiser in space. With a bit of Shining.
Haunted house movie, yeah. So there's quite a lot of that. I'd say the first half of it, essentially, a good chunk of the film is basically it's a haunted house thing.
Yeah,
our characters are seeing apparitions and visions and things. The visions have a little bit more of a reality to them. I think there's like it's physical manifestations of their like worst fears or past secrets and things like that. But they do have the potential to directly impact them. And then sort of the latter half of the latter section of the movie, we do get like a possession movie almost. One of the main characters becomes fully under the influence of whatever this dark entity is and becomes an actual sort of physical antagonist.
It's because he's already been there.
Mm-hmm.
He's Mr. Weir, played by Sam Neill,
Mr. Weir.
It's kind of portrayed as our lead hero at the beginning, and then becomes the antagonist, whilst Lawrence Fishburne, let's say our secondary hero, becomes our primary protagonist, and then we have the antagonist-protagonist fighting each other pretty much for the rest of the film. So yeah, it's not a perfect film.
No,
it's competent. It's a fun romp, I would say.
Yeah.
We talked about the silliness, the goofiness of the writing. The ship, I think, is awesome. I think the ship looks fantastic, and it on the outside, the inside, not so much.
A
but
little
the
bit
outside,
Crystal Maze in parts.
The outside, I think, really helps trying to get over the horror aesthetic, because I think, especially where they are, like Neptune. It's not like, I don't know. It's something about it. It's not a planet that gets enough. It doesn't get enough play. Neptune.
No,
okay, it's just they've just picked it. Okay, it's
just out there.
It's just out there. Let's go for Neptune. And I think there's some really good shots of just a ship hovering around. Sometimes it's in the atmosphere. Sometimes it's in orbit. That kind of fluctuates a bit. It changes. They don't know where they want the ship to be. But I think the ship design is one of the better ship designs from the outside, and I think that helps with the horror aspect. Apparently, it was designed based on a cathedral layout, because it's like a cross. So the main, because cathedrals are, when you look down on them, they are like the Christian cross.
Cross ships. Yeah.
So apparently,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there's sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I'm personally not familiar with the names of certain areas of a cathedral. What's the where is it? Yeah, I'm not gonna try and make stuff up.
And the nave and various. Yeah, I mean, I know a few of the terms, but I don't necessarily be able to point to them. But yeah, that is interesting. I wonder actually if you do properly cross-reference it. I wonder if there is any significance to where events happen or things like that.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool.
One of the things, it's funny as well, because we've got this, like you say, this sort of Gothic architecture and this cathedral aspect to it. Because one of the things this movie crops up on quite a lot is when people are talking about Warhammer 40k, and this being I've been listening to a lot of like 40k lore.
You've been
podcasts
playing a lot of
recently, and I've been
Warhammer
playing a lot of it.
40k.
I have Space Marine 2 has just come out. But one of the sort of whole concept of the travel, the space travel in Event Horizon is quite similar to how space travel works in the lore of 40k.
Is that warping the time?
You go through what's known as the warp, which is basically some version of chaos and manifest and hell. And the ships, if they're not protected by I think it's a Geller field or something like that, then they're basically open to attack from like the entities in space hell. So Event Horizon, it comes up in quite a lot when people talk about like, oh, we've not had a 40k movie, but what film feels like it should be a 40k movie, and Event Horizon comes up quite a lot in the list because basically it kind of documents what happens in the 40k lore if you travel interstellar, if you undertake interstellar travel without the adequate protection. And it's basically this: everybody goes insane and murders each other because space demons get in you.
Space demons that speak Latin, apparently, which is a biblical language.
Space Latin. So
a biblical language from the planet Earth, shall we say? Yeah, but it's,
but also, there's a lot of other little like Warhammer 40k links there with the Latin and with the cathedral type architecture and all that sort of stuff.
It's because so Latin it's and old religion is spooky. So
yeah, it is definitely. So we do. It's a little nod to some of that. I wonder if that's where they got their inspiration from, to be honest.
Well, this is. I mean, what you are the Warhammer expert here, but 40k's been around since
late 80s.
40k that long ago? I thought 40k was a lot. I mean, obviously Warhammer itself is the OG, but then I know 40k then came along. I didn't know 40k then was that early.
Started. I want to say 80. I'm by no means an expert. I want to say 87, the first edition.
I need so much money to get into this. I just want to. I want money and time to sit and paint my little toys.
Yeah, you certainly need a lot of money.
That part though, with we're describing how the speed of light, space time, and traveling through space faster than the speed of light. By using the piece of paper and the pen. I love that part of the film. I think that's a great bit of exposition just to show how it works. Interstellar rips it off. I don't know if you've ever seen Interstellar.
I haven't, no.
It actually does the same. Fold a piece of paper, explain with the pen going through it. Because you can't travel faster than the speed of light. It's Einstein's theory, right?
Yeah.
And it's something about the way he describes it. I'm a very visual person. I'm a very visual, physical person. So him using props, like a piece of paper and a pen, I can get down with that.
It does. It's perfectly...
Not a whiteboard and equations and things like that.
It's like, what's Fishburne's character called?
Morpheus.
It's like Morpheus.
He will always be Morpheus.
Miller.
Hey, I wasn't far off.
Morpheus Miller.
Morpheus.
It's like Miller says, like, explain it in layman's terms. To which Weir does attempt that, and then we get the interjection from Cooper. Never mind layman's terms, speak English, or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
And you go, oh, Cooper, what do you like?
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
But then, he uses the little piece of paper folder. Well, it's a pin-up, isn't it? It's a sexy pin-up.
Yes, yeah.
To explain it.
Again, very 90s. Like, these are all incredibly professional they're a team. They're colleagues. And it's like a UK mechanics garage. You got a few pin-ups there, probably got a calendar of a lady straddling some tires.
Space tires.
Space tires, yes, you need them in space. But it's very 90s. It's not even 80s. It's obviously it wasn't made in the 80s, but it is so of its time.
I was just thinking about when this was made and how it looks and things like that. Now, we said at the top of the show that this had a production budget of 80 million.
I believe it was 60.
Oh, 60 million, sorry. So Alien Romulus's production budget was 80 million.
Yeah.
So there's not a huge amount of difference in there. 80 million in 1997, today's money is 152 million.
Wow.
This doesn't look like it was made for 152 million.
Wow.
We've got like that interesting sort of. There's obviously practical effects in there and models and things like that, but then we've also got that sort of CG influence creeping in as that becomes more accessible and more usable. Sticks out like a sore thumb today, as it would.
I mean, Next Gen was doing some nice space shots in the early 90s with the Enterprise out and just hovering around some planets.
But I mean, we've got bits where there's debris floating, there's like a mobile phone or some sort of data.
Oh, is that like inside the ship where they're that looks awful. That is really dated,
really jank. And some of the effects saw that Weir, Sam Neill's character, and his wife keeps. I'm assuming it's his wife. She committed suicide, and that's his sort of trauma and backstory. They appear with their eyes torn out, and that is very obvious, like digital paint over hollow eye effect. Which again, really does stick out. There's also a scene where I think it's Peters has been chased out of the medical bay. The door shuts behind her, and then something starts sort of banging at the door.
Yeah,
and quite. I mean, it's a good effect, but there's just I don't know if the cut is just slightly off, so it looks a little bit iffy. Where it's essentially the door panel is a rubber sheet in a frame, and so they can like push things into it to make it look like the metal's denting, and the cut just lingers for like half a second too long that you kind of see the membrane vibrate as the thing bangs into it. It's really, and again, it really is blink if you miss it, but it's like it looks kind of good, and you're getting these like bang and the impression of like a fist or a face or whatever is banging into the membrane, and there's just one scene where they do it and the camera just lingers on the shot a little bit too long, so we see the thing retract and like it vibrate, and I can't, once you've seen it you can't unsee it. Every time I've watched this film I catch that detail and I can't help myself but just go, it's obviously a rubber sheet between like a plywood frame or whatever.
If you vaguely remember what part of the film this exactly was, let me know and I'll try and put it right now in the video.
I will have a look. I will have a look after for the timestamp for it. Yeah,
I mean the effects in this film, that's quite a big talking point in general because like you said, the CGI for the most part is hit and miss. The visuals of the spaceship outside in the atmosphere look good, but they had to put it in the atmosphere because that's how you get the clouds and the spooky lightning and that. If you put it just in space, it's not as scary. But that's still, for CGI 97, that still looks quite good. The CGI in the ship, hit and miss. The practical effects, some of the practical effects look pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Particularly the gory stuff. I think the you know, there's a DJs in it that ends up flayed and hung up on the and eviscerated. That all looks great.
And in the video footage they find of the old crew, gruesome. It is pretty gruesome. It's not as gruesome as it's made out to be, and it is not as gruesome as the cut that we will never ever see.
Yes,
which is very sad.
But it's that little scene that features the star of my next two films under piece. It's one of those
not going to mention.
Members.
No, don't mention it until next episode because it's in that scene. Because that scene, where the crew have embarked on the Event Horizon, wondering what the hell's going on. There's a video log, and that's where they find basically the video log of the crew just literally going through hell.
Yeah.
right? And is it the captain who's pulled out his eyes and is speaking Latin?
He's pulled out his eyes. He's speaking Latin.
And we also get the amazing line after it from Lawrence Fishburne. Just stops it. We're leaving.
We get there's quite a lot going on. I think a little bit of cannibalism. I think a little bit of auto cannibalism. I think there's a little bit of human Tetris kind of. It's a sexy party happening. Yeah. And then, but it is also a very quick cut and blink if you miss it. And again, I think it's supposed to convey. It does a reasonable job of it. It convey this like horrible event, trauma that the crew have experienced and gone through. It also kind of feels, but it doesn't. When you watch it again, it doesn't actually. Again, it's that Mandela effect thing where you kind of remember it as being a little bit more visceral and gory than it actually is.
Completely.
And watching it last night, it kind of reminds me of various. It happens a few times, but various scenes in Red Dwarf whenever they're watching back some sort of camera footage, or particularly the Crikey TV in the later episodes. It just because you kind of ask yourself like, why are they filming this? Like they're having some sort of demon-possessed orgy cannibal party where they're all like murdering each other and cutting bits off one another.
Who's
and we
got
see
the camera? Like...
Who's somebody's video in that? Yeah, one of the crew's got a. It's like the opening scenes of Men Behaving Badly. The opening credits to Men Behaving Badly.
Yeah.
Just all wobbly video camera footage.
Watch out, Beatles about.
There's quite a few funny things like that, and it's one of those sorts of films where you can have a laugh like watching it and picking holes in it, and there are silly things that happen, and as much of I think it wants to be a really sort of tense, visceral horror. I think it comes out the other side actually being a bit more of a goofy sci-fi action film. It's more Alien Resurrection than Alien. I think is a
great way of putting it.
Fair comparison.
Brilliant way of putting it. Yeah, you're right. You're entirely right.
Which, as I've said, is not a bad thing because there's plenty of room for these sorts of fun things. And I don't think I've ever met anybody that says it's a terrible film. I think generally everybody says, yeah, it's a good laugh. I enjoy watching it. It's good fun.
Yeah, I don't see how you can like hate this film. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect or amazing, but it's a fun horror romp.
I think if you were missold it, I think if somebody tried, I think if somebody sold it to you as being one thing and that it is, worse than it is, or scarier than it is, or because I can't remember exactly when I first watched it, but I remember sitting down to watch it with that sort of. Thought in mind that people have told me that this is really like a hard watch to some degree. Now, I don't know. That may be that may be just testament to my teenage. How old was I? 97, like 12. My 12-year-old peers that were telling me that it was the really horrible, scary film probably didn't have that wide of an experience of watching actual horrible, scary films. So,
as a young Aidan or young Tom, I imagine if I was a lot younger, getting into horror, watching this would have blown my mind.
Oh yeah,
but I think when you become a bit desensitized to a lot of horrors, you become so much more involved in horror as a whole. You do start to realize a film like this doesn't live up to the hype that a lot of people would give it.
Yeah.
But it's still fine. It's still perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's
not awful. It's no Strays.
No, not
it's
at all.
No Strays.
Like I said,
mentioned about the film we'll never see. So there is release the Anderson cut. #. There is obviously the director's cut where it was something like an extra 30 minutes worth of film where
they had to cut the film down by 30 minutes
basically towards the end where Sam Neill's character Weir is we basically pinheading it to Lawrence Fishburne. We have such sights to show you.
Yes.
Grabs his head and basically allows him to visualize what's going on in this other dimension with all the torturing of the crew and whatnot, what's going to happen to him, and just all the horribleness that could come or has happened.
Which seems to be mainly barbed wire and screaming. I mean, I'm not saying it's pretty pleasant, but it's not the worst thing I can imagine.
It's pretty gruesome. Barbed wire is not pleasant, is it?
No.
But it's very quick if you see it. Well, not if. When you see it, because it's the only one that exists, when you see it in the actual film, it's very quick flashes. Very quick. The director's cut, this went on for a lot longer, and it was just a like a montage, if you will, of macabre, gore, terror, and everything negative, basically. Everything that is horrible. Which I think, God, if you got rid of the corny writing, some of the odd bad CGI. I mean, I can take or leave the CGI. It's of the 90s. You can't.
It's of its time. Yeah, you can't.
But it's more so
really
the writing, and the way some of the characters are portrayed, and you swap that with the bits we're missing from this cut. I think you've got a much more intense horror film. But unfortunately, the negatives or the original prints, he stored them in a salt mine. I believe Romania. I think it's Romania, somewhere in Eastern Europe. Apparently, salt mines are actually great for storing film reels because the moisture
keeps the moisture out. Yeah.
But it wasn't stored properly, and I think it's. I remember looking into this maybe 10 years ago. I don't know if it's changed since then, but as far as I'm aware, the situation's gotten worse and worse, and we will never see that footage. And it's a real shame. It's a real shame because over the years, directors do come out with, we found the hidden footage, the footage we never used. We've got a special edition for you here with all the unseen footage, similar to the new special edition release of Blair Witch that's coming out very soon, which I've got pre-ordered. That has the original 16mm footage that was intended for everyone to see it as. So pretty much everyone's been watching the Blair Witch Project wrong this whole time. So I'm very much looking forward to being able to watch it, how the directors and crew intended this to be viewed. But unfortunately, we'll never get that with Event Horizon.
No. I mean, yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see it. It'd definitely be interested. I'd be interested in watching it just to see, what could have been. However, I think potentially you could spoil things by just sort of extending those scenes and turning it into some sort of hostile-esque torture porn thing. I don't think more gore is necessarily what it needs. I think you could probably shift the tone of the film with just the writing, quite possibly.
Yeah, it is the right. It's such a big problem with it. Did he write it as well?
I'm not sure.
Written by Philip Eisner. Let's see.
He wrote the movie after a family tragedy, according to this IMDb thing.
Was the family tragedy similar to this film?
Don't know. He had some family that went to space and never came back. He pitched the idea of The Shining in space, which is a pretty good analogy for it. I think that works. But yeah, that's just thinking about. And going back a little bit to the sort of effects and stuff. A lot of it looks too clean, like the sets of the ship and the control room and the corridors and things. Everything just looks too perfect, too clean, and too.
Well, that's what I was saying originally about the design of the ship. Outside, we get that kind of alien, industrial, gritty looking ship where it's there's maybe an antenna here, there's a room sticking out here, there's a huge corridor here, but inside, especially that main concourse, it's. I don't know. It may be something out of like a Fifth Element ship. Very sleek, futuristic looking ship.
Very.
The Lewis and Clark. The bridge You know, with Lawrence Fishburne sat in the hovering chair.
Yeah.
That looks really cool, like where the crew are.
That's different, and they're sort of like communal area with the bumps and the pictures up and photos and stuff like that. That feels a little bit more lived in and whatnot. Maybe, I guess, but I suppose it's the horizon that's the issue. But I suppose maybe you could say, well, it was a maiden voyage and it's been, but it just feels too. I mean, and I suppose that was it. It was a new ship, and it's maiden voyage, and it is, you know, when it was a futuristic ship, but I suppose it feels a little bit sort of too clean and futury.
Agreed.
And as a result, I think it kind of looks a little bit too fake, and therefore a little bit too cheap. A little bit like, you know, sci-fi TV show like Seven. You expect the walls to, like I said, there's the bit with the door scene, but you kind of expect the walls to wobble a little bit, and like, everything looks too clean, freshly painted.
I've got that in my notes about the ship, because I know the production design, sets and props is one of the things I focus on a lot with films.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Thought I heard a very strange sound at the door. Yeah, I've got a few other ships to compare it to. So, like I mentioned, the Nostromo, the ship in Aidan, very industrial, very gritty, very helps with the horror aspect. And then it's not a horror. This next one isn't horror based, but you look at something from 5 years earlier or 5 to 7 years earlier. If you've ever watched Star Trek, the Next Generation, Patrick Stewart, that ship looks like an 80s like contemporary posh house. Like, it's very sleek, very gloss wood everywhere, bright. It's very bright. It looks like a nice living room. Yeah. And that looks like it. It looks like a set. If you know, it looks like a set. It doesn't feel like a spaceship. Going back to Lewis and Clark, where they're sat in their gritty chair, that looks like a spaceship. Just not that we know what a spaceship. A spaceship is whatever NASA decides a spaceship looks like.
Well,
But to us, in our creative minds, that's what a spaceship looks like. What I mean, can you think of any other like fictional spaceships you'd say really work, or just
that really work or really don't work? I mean, obviously, the Nostromo is the one that sticks out as being sort of the best example, I think, because it just feels real. It just feels lived in, and
one of the worst ones.
Even the bits that look very futury, like the medical bay, for example.
Yes.
Which is, you know, essentially bright lights and clean white, stark, almost featureless surfaces. But it just feels dirty, gritty, lived in. I suppose I agree. On the opposite end of the scale, you've got like Star Trek Next Generation, and this feels more down, or even Star Trek Original Series, where you are on the borderline with like wobbly walls and things like that. And this feels like it's more that end than that end.
What about the ship from Jason X?
That's got to be. I mean, when was Jason X? Jason X is around
2001.
It's about that, isn't it? I think early 2000s. So
that
not a
ship
million
feels
miles
all
away
over the
from
place.
this.
That ship in Jason X felt so all over the place. That felt like a cobbled together different pieces of sets just put together. And so, kind of so does this, because like I said, you've got the clean concourse. You've also got the spinning cheese grater corridor, which has the doors, really cool doors that open. It's got spikes on the end of the doors that open diagonally like this. I think that's the corridor that leads into the spherical
the
machine,
gravity drive room.
Which is really cool, that room. But that's a really weird. I think they mention in the film that's the way that room is spinning is something to do with the engine of the ship or the way the ship works. I can't remember, but again, the Jason X ship is very, very bizarre, very odd, very cheap.
Yeah, it feels almost Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers has some similar.
Oh my god, the Starship Trooper ships, they are clean.
They are very clean.
fucking love Starship Troopers so much.
I'm looking now at like 90s space movies, and I feel like any of them had this sort of, we need to make it look more futuristic. I mean, the Matrix did a good job of like grimy, dirty, lived-in interiors. It's technically not spaceships, I suppose, but it's very similar sort of vibe. But then anything else seems to go this way, where everything's too clean, random pointy bits, though, or almost like a RGB lit PC. Yeah. There'll just be some tubes of liquid that's probably neon, or like again, almost like the old Red Dwarf sets, where there'd just be one of those plasma ball things just stuck to a wall because future, right? Like we're not going to explain what any of this stuff does, but it makes it look.
It's important.
It makes it look fancy and futuristic.
I mean, what about even you go to the original Star Wars ships? You've got the.
The Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon's pretty gritty. Like I
definitely.
It just
feels like it's somebody's home.
It feels lived in. Yeah, it feels lived in. It feels worked in. It feels like, oh, that's broken. We just quickly patched it and repaired it. Yeah. Because we're in space and it's quite technical. It's expensive.
I suppose the Event Horizon, as we said, is new. It's a new ship, and its maiden voyage on which it disappeared. But it's also supposed that they've gone through hell. Like, there's very little. All right, I'm assuming the previous crew wasn't massive, but they did massacre each other and all go insane. And apart from like one room, that you'd expect a little bit more wear and tear. I think that's what they could have done. Maybe I think they could have just made out like there was more of an ongoing struggle, rather than everybody just suddenly all snapped at the same time, and you know, the death orgy was confined to one room. I think they could have made it a little bit more of a drawn out process, finding little, like you've played Dead Space, you know, you find little notes scrolled on the walls here and there, and they could have, and I think that would have upped the horror as well a little bit. That would have increased the tension if you've got they're traveling through the ship and, you know, finding little moments where something's gone wrong, and you basically track the deterioration of the crew through it. Whereas it just went, we just splattered 3 people against the wall in this room, and that's it. Everything else is still fresh as the day it rolled off the production line.
I guess us talking about the ship's design and how it should look, it falls more into the sci-fi aspect of it rather than the horror. Mm-hmm. It can help with the horror, but yeah, if it was a next gen style ship, the horror aspect it would destroy the horror feel, I think, to it.
Yeah.
So getting that design on point really determines is it the scary, let's say the scariness level, the intensity level, or the, you know. I was looking at Fifth Element ships as well. They're very clean.
Yeah. Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yeah. Galaxy Quest, yeah. Spaceball. What are Spaceballs? I think Spaceball's just brown. If I remember right, it's just brown and grey.
You forgot where you were.
I forgot where I were. Not Neptune.
No. 8 billion clicks away.
Wait, what? Did they say that?
That's what Lawrence Fishburne says at some point. Because they're all grumpy, aren't they? Because they've been called out off leave to go and do this mission. Yeah. And he's like, instead of being anywhere near civilization where, like, I can't remember if he says 8 billion or 3 billion, but it's like X number of billion clicks away from anywhere, or. And that's why he's all cranky.
Oh, that's what I was going to mention. Sam Neill. Sam Neill in horror does not get enough recognition. He didn't do enough horror. I think his acting works great in horror, and especially as a villain.
Oh yeah. I think
he's
he does very well as a villain.
Actor. Obviously, The Omen 3 is not the greatest film, but he is Damien in the third Omen film.
He is Damien in the third Omen film. I like Omen 3.
Actually, the thing is with the Omen films was I never got that buzz from the first Omen film.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
it
they do.
really
It's
did it for me.
it's like any. They do decline as they go through.
Yeah.
But I do like it because it's a totally different take. We've got adult Damien basically. That's what I like about it. Is that yeah, we've got that version of him as grown up instead of still a child at some point in his life. So it's interesting. It's an interesting take on it.
I was also going to bring up so we mentioned right at the beginning, this is a Paul W.S. Anderson film. Most people will know Paul W.S. Anderson for the Resident Evil franchise. Mm-hmm. That's his magnum opus. That is his.
Yeah. But he also did Death Race.
Don't forget
which I've
Death
just
Race
learned
2.
There are 4 of.
Yep.
No idea there were 4 of those movies.
I think I saw the first one on a plane with Jason Statham.
Alien vs Predator as well.
All his films are around the 5 to 6 out of 10.
Hey, I mean, fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. He knows what he can do and he does it. And there is a market for these dumb action popcorny movies. There is. That's how they churned out so many Resident Evils, because people were obviously going to see them.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you feel about them.
I enjoyed the first one.
I enjoyed the first one, and I think that's the only one I can hand on my heart say I've seen beginning to end.
Oh, I enjoyed the second one because it had Nemesis. I'm a big fan of Nemesis.
Pieces. I know I've seen bits and pieces of the other ones, but
and previously to the Event Horizon, he obviously directed the Mortal Kombat movie, which I know it's okay to not like bad things, but I'm a sucker for that film. I like that film. I know it's bad. I will accept. I'll go a step further. Yeah, I'll go a step further. I like Annihilation as well, which wasn't a W.S. Anderson film, but that's really bad, that film. So yeah, he directed Mortal Kombat literally before this, I believe.
Yeah, was that
95?
95. I was going to say 96, but
so it's Event Horizon. It's not a film. It's not a film for everyone. I think it's a hard one to recommend as well.
I think it's very of its time, and if you saw it back in the day, and then you've probably got some love for it. I think it'd be a difficult one for new, like younger people.
Yeah, definitely.
That missed the boat to go back, and there's not really much to go for, you know what I mean. Even if I'm saying like it's a dumb action sci-fi popcorn film, I'd probably recommend Alien Resurrection over this, or for
a dumb fun alien.
Yeah. Or the Resident Evils, or Dog Soldiers, dumb action horror film, not even necessarily sci-fi related.
It's a good film.
Yeah, so this is. I see what you mean, but I feel like it's got a good cult following, and I feel like, say, people that did see it on release or back in the day, closer to when it came out, do have love for it. I feel like it does get. I don't really know anybody that doesn't go, oh yeah, I kind of like that film,
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I imagine seeing it on release, you'll have a completely different opinion on it, because there was nothing really like it. Like I said at the beginning, it is actually a very niche film. Mm-hmm. I genuinely was trying to think of a lot of other films in a similar vein. Like, I don't know, a subgenre for this would be space horror, right? Because there was always that argument: can you do horror in space? And a lot of the argument, the opinions against that argument were, Event Horizon or Alien. Okay, any more?
Well,
like,
it's an attempt to do horror in space that isn't Aliens. It's not
exactly.
It's
not
based on Aliens. it could be it's a haunted house movie in space to some degree. It could be something, the setting could be completely different. You could do a similar story that X has, opened a path to hell or whatever. So it's got a lot going for it in that regard, because like you say, it's very niche and it's worth checking. You know what I mean? If you want to watch a sci-fi horror film that doesn't involve an alien in some way, shape or form, then you've got this or Jason X, I think, basically.
Hellraiser Bloodlines.
Or the Hellraiser ones that go to space, yeah. Or Leprechaun in space, I suppose. But
they all go to space in the end.
And the potentially upcoming Child's Play Chucky in space. But if it says, I think there's another general rule, if the end of the title is in space, then maybe give it a bit of a swerve.
Well, that's the thing. Isn't Leprechaun 4 literally in space?
Yeah.
Isn't it titled in space?
Leprechaun in space.
So there's a few. Like if I just Google right now, horror in space, there's one here that I thought of last night that I remember when it was being marketed as such a big deal. It's called Pandorum.
Oh, the name rings a bell.
And weirdly, it was being marketed as so one of the actors in it is called Ben Foster, and I just have this one of those weird memories that just stick at the back of your head. I remember this being marketed as Ben Foster is back and he's better than ever. I've never heard of Ben Foster before. Am I missing something here? But Pandorum is it's horror in space. I've never seen it, but as far as I'm aware, Paul W.S. Anderson was involved.
Oh yeah, I mean, just looking at what's come up, I mean, there's some comparison to Pinhead, there's some comparison to Hellraiser. Just looking at the 5 pictures that Google have thrown up for it, and it looks like Event Horizon. In fact, I tell you what, another Sean Pertwee film. Have you ever seen Doomsday?
I know of it.
About the it's the virus that eradicates most of humanity, and Scotland's been walled off. And
I remember seeing this advertised.
Yeah. Sean Pertwee's in it, and Bob Hoskins.
Result.
It's a good dumb
Malcolm
action
McDowell?
movie. It's
Come
definitely
on
worth
now.
a watch if you've not seen it. I like it a lot. It's very silly in the same way that this is, but the cover for the poster for Doomsday is essentially exactly the same as Pandorum. It's the same font. It's the same splat of red.
You're right.
It's that again. We're looking at that sort of
Pandorum
mid 2000s.
Two astronauts wake up in what seems like a pitch black spacecraft. Disorientated, unable to remember who they are or what their mission was, they discover that they are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bread and butter.
Oh, Norman Reedus is in it as well.
He is indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's okay. Well, like I was saying, so simply searching horror in space movies. Some of them are a little bit hit and miss. I mean, Ghosts of Mars. I wouldn't class. See, I'm going to be really specific here. I wouldn't class that as horror in space because they're on a planet. I want horror in space. In
a
space.
Spaceship. I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think.
A film called Life came out a few years back with Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, and Rebecca Ferguson. I never saw it.
No,
it needs to be on this type of level to be, in my opinion, to be classed as horror in space.
I mean,
again,
having heard of it would be a good start, I think.
But you could also class a film like Moon, which is fantastic, with Sam Rockwell, as horror in space because he frankly loses his mind. He's on his own on the moon, and that's that is horrifying. Space in general is horrifying.
Yeah,
I mean, fucking hell, Gravity. That is horror. That is horrifying. What happens in that film? But there's a different type of horror. This is horror on another level. This is horror that we can't comprehend because it's another fucking dimension with just hell erupting.
Well, that's it. I mean, we're calling it hell. There is no. It's never explicitly said it's hell, is it? It's another dimension that is hell-like, but it's never confirmed that we're dealing with the actual Judeo-Christian concept of hell.
If you go to IMDb and you look at space horror films list, in descending order from top to bottom, it goes to number 1, Alien, 2, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and then Event Horizon.
Yeah.
And number 6 is It! Exclamation mark. The Terror from Beyond Space.
Oh, I was going to say not the Killer Clown one.
No, 1958 film. A mission sent to rescue the first manned expedition to Mars is invaded by an unknown life form, which stows away on the rescue ship. The fact it's from 1958, that gives me hope it's going to be a man in a suit.
Oh, absolutely will be.
Yeah. Rawr. We got then Sunshine, great film. Pandorum, Europa Report, never heard of that. Apollo 18. That was on my list of when I was looking at films for our next 2 films under. But it's 2011. Critters 4.
That's oh no, it'd be 2010s, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Pitch Black, but it's not the best variety of films. Doom,
No.
again.
Like I said, I feel it's good that they took a punt on making a sci-fi horror film that's not just aliens, because I think that niche, that unique angle to it, probably gives it a little bit of weight as well. It's that little something extra, rather than it being just somebody reading from a book that they shouldn't have done, or just giving it a totally different setting, because there is that extra element. They've got there's the part of the movie where the hull has been breached and they're repairing that, and they're going to run out of oxygen. So it gives the extra element. The fact that they're in the vacuum of space gives that extra element of danger as well. So as well as what's going on in the there's kind of a legitimacy to it as well, to the peril. Because how many times have you watched a haunted house film and you just think, just leave, just get in your car and drive away? And there's some convoluted or contrived reason as to why they can't leave. But in this, there's a legit reason why they can't just go. So they can't just go. They're in their 8 billion clicks from the civilization. They've got 20 hours of oxygen. So that, I think that helps to it just aids with that unique feel concept. It's just it gives it a little bit of helping hand. I agree. I do think I'd struggle to say. I'd never say you must watch it. It's great to watch. But if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, Event Horizon, what do you think about it?" Then I think I'd always say, "Yeah, it's worth checking out." I wouldn't tell anybody to skip it.
No,
but I wouldn't necessarily be throwing it at people and demanding they watch it.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's a tight hour and a half. Always a win. Always a win with somewhat of a recommendation or a film. 2 hours or less, please. That's what we want. Granted, if it's worth it, I can go a little bit over 2 hours. But 2 hours or less, please, for horror, because we talked about last time. If it's 2 hours or more, your suspense and tension that you're building up throughout a horror film starts to dwindle a bit, because you're kind of getting tired. You maybe getting bored. You want it to end. You want it to wrap up. Do you have anything more to bring to the space table?
No, the space table. I've got a new 3D chess set. No, I haven't. I think that's about wraps it up for me. Cool. Event Horizon, a good old mid-90s sci-fi.
Do you own it?
Romp. I don't. No, I don't actually. Oh, I don't think so. I'm not. I don't. I don't think I do.
See, I feel like there's many different copies that were released of this, because maybe another Mandela effect. I remember the copy being a blue-greenish.
I think the general poster that comes up is a blue-greeny one.
Excuse me. So if I go to Amazon right now, I know there's a brand new 4K or Blu-ray edition, but man.
Well, funnily enough, when I watched it, so I watched it last night and I watched it through Amazon. So it's available to buy or rent on Amazon
Yeah.
Prime. And it had a reddish cover. It was also on the Paramount Plus channel, of which I had a trial for. So I was like, oh well, I'll do that. And it had like a bluey cover, so I don't know if that indicated two different cuts to the film or whether it was just.
That's what I remember.
They just chose a different. Yeah, that's the general one that you see. Absolutely, with the Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne's face in the background,
with the ship at forefront. Yeah. What's what does the VHS look like? Even the VHS has that same cover.
Yeah. I feel like that's the main cover that was out and about there. Definitely.
But yeah, it's
Yeah. So yeah, I don't own it. I don't feel like I'd rush to have a copy in my collection. I wouldn't like hate one, but
no, I
wouldn't quite have my way of looking for it. I don't think.
I honestly don't know, and this isn't like what we've been talking about with recommendations. I don't know when I would watch this again, and that's not down to the fact I don't hate the film. It's I don't know what it can bring to the table again and again from rewatching. I don't know what sort of excitement or interest I can get from rewatching this.
That's it. This to me, it feels like it's one of those like Friday night. I'm just about to go to bed. Oh, Event Horizon's on. I'll watch this for a bit.
If it's on TV,
if it's
maybe.
on,
yeah.
Channel surfing, and you happen across it, and it could be 10 minutes in, it could be half an hour in, and you think, oh, Event Horizon, I didn't want to go to bed just yet. I'll watch this for a while. It's a fun enough distraction that you'll catch if you happen across it. But yeah, you're not gonna be like, right, love, let's put on a film.
No.
Get Event Horizon off the shelf. Yeah, I'm not.
There are other horror films that maybe I would say are not rubbish, but are not as well received or as good as this, that I could watch maybe once a year and go, oh, I haven't seen that in a while. I'll put that back on. But this, I don't know. I just don't feel that rush or need to go and watch this again.
Yeah,
it's a one and done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As a horror film that I'm a huge fan of the Cube series.
Oh, I see. I like the Cube movies.
And I'm talking
the ones I've seen.
All three. I think there is more than I've seen. I don't think there is. I know there was a somewhat remake or a reboot. I tell you what, actually, Cube's not a bad link to this, because Cube is, especially the first one, you don't know where you are. That they could be floating through space. We end up finding it's like some sort of government experiment. But what happens in the cube? Even the lighting, the way it's designed, the traps, the abnormal things that happen, feels very like extra dimensional sort of.
Yeah.
We have Cube 1, Cube 2, Hypercube, and Cube 0. Yeah, Cube 0 is the third one, which spoiler, they actually escape the cube and you see what happens. But that's a film, Cube, I could watch now and then not watch for another 2 years, but I'd still enjoy it. It's not it's maybe one of my top 50, maybe top 100. But yeah, I think I could go back and think, let's put on Cube and watch that. I think I could watch that again.
Yeah.
But not this. Unfortunately, not this.
No, that's fair enough. I think they just, like as we said, it does take a little while to get going, and then when it does, it's a little bit too late, I think.
Agreed. Well, I'm glad we definitely unless you leave the show and I have to do this again with a new co-host. Well, that is it for the Event Horizon on the Dreadcast. That is the re-release. I'm sure we'll do some more re-release episodes in the near future. Plenty of films that we talked about, but not with your fine self. So yeah, if you've I don't know why I always say this after an hour-long review discussion about a film. If you've come this far and still not seen it, go watch it. Why not? Fuck it. It's not good. It's not bad. It's neither here nor there. But why would you have listened to this whole episode and not seen it? So that's Event Horizon. next time on the Dreadcast, we are back to another Two Films Under.
Yep.
Featuring our chosen picks, which I will put on the old social medias in the next few days, probably, because you've already picked and I'll pick mine today. Alien film from the 2000s.
Yep.
And there are quite a few. It's mostly it's Alien versus something.
Yeah.
Or Alien and then word.
Yeah.
Descriptive term.
Trousers. Alien trousers.
Alien socks.
Versus mega underpants.
Yeah, mega underpants. That's the one. So that'll be next time. That'll be coming towards the end of September. So stay tuned. And then October is Texas Chainsaw Month.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre Month.
Very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to that. That would be good. As long as you can stop having a life and going away and doing things.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't think I've got anything. I've got my MOT in October, so
Oh my God.
I think that's going to restrict my movements, both financially and potentially physically.
Good. Well, yeah. So check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and X at @the_Dreadcast. Do you know what? You can even I was quite happy to see this. Just Google the Dreadcast, and we're the first thing that comes up.
Hey, awesome.
That's quite cool. That's quite cool to see. Yeah. Not like that other podcast that was called the Dreadcast that started about 5 years ago. They don't exist anymore. We've
overtaken.
So you can just simply Google us, and you'll find everything you need there on Google on the old Google. What's it? Spotify, Amazon, iHeart Radio, Samsung, Podbean. Everything you can find us on there. On YouTube, go check us out. Like I said, the past episode of Two Films Under, where we reviewed Mosquito from 1994 versus Strays from 1991, to not very good horror films from the 90s featuring killer animals. You find it here. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
That sorts it out.
Until then, we're going to go see what's going on with the ship that's floating around in space. So we may come back with eyes, we may not. But until next time,
bye.
I was just going to go with a nice ciao. Bye.